Okay, cool. We're live, man. Yeah,
Sweet.
dude, you had 40 people at the Connect Utah meeting. Where'd you guys meet?
So we meet at Fat Daddy's Pizzeria down in Provo Center Street.
Oh,
It's
nice.
fantastic. So he does Chef Chad Pritchard down there for us. He does pizza every other week because it is a pizzeria, but he's also
Yeah.
a fully trained chef. So he makes us some just surprise meal on the other weeks, which is
Wow, dude. You guys got a good group and custom food, man.
yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, dude. So Norm, we know each other through the Connect Utah group.
Mhm.
And for those, and I've talked about that before because I've met a few of my guests from Connect Utah. But why don't you go ahead and like explain what Connect Utah is, how you guys got that, how you got involved with that, and kind of start there.
Okay, super. So a few years ago, this would have been almost 3 years ago. It was December, which is actually part of kind of a fun part of my background. I had run a newspaper for 25 years,
Oh, no kidding.
and I had suddenly, we'd gone out of business. The cool thing to say is, I closed that down and transitioned. The hard thing to say is, we went flat out of business.
What
But I
what
went.
happened? What newspaper was it?
So it was the Thrifty Nickel newspaper out here,
Okay.
and
Okay.
I was trying to transition into some agency work, and it just in the end it didn't work out. So wound up calling all my employees, said, come get a hug, come get a paycheck, and then we're all going to figure out what to do for a living. And so
Yeah.
a few months I should say after that, I went back actually to my BNI group and said, guys, I need some help. I don't know what to do with my life. I'm trying to figure this out. I said, I need some kind of a career that's going to do three things. One, it has to be based on relationships. Two, it's got to obviously pay the bills. And three, it needs to feed my Disney addiction. And and so wound up with start. That's how I got my start into health insurance. And there just happened to be a guy there that morning that was
Yeah.
involved with Connect Utah as well. Said, hey Norm, you know what? You should come down to. Well, at the time it was Oregano Italian Kitchen, which was another restaurant owned also by Chad Pritchard. And so I started to go to that, get involved as the happy. Well, actually, at the time, I was just as a health insurance agent. It wasn't until a year later I branded myself as the happy health insurance guy, and so just getting, I guess, familiar with what Connect Utah was and getting into networking a lot more religiously, more faithfully that way, and really getting to know people. I just had a lot of fun with it to where, well, now I wind up as the community director for one of the groups, the Utah County group,
Uh-huh.
and Hillary is our other community director down there. So Roger Copenhaver is the guy that actually started it up, and he started it a little over 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Started doing. We affectionately refer to them as the Breakfast Club up in Davis County, and so they were kind of the original gangsters of Connect Utah, and now there's
Mhm.
a bunch of different groups up and down the state. We get together once a week. We don't have a membership requirement. We don't keep attendance. We just say, hey, you know what, come help each other out. Your cost of admission is buy lunch, tip your server.
Yeah. Right on, man. So you mentioned that um you mentioned that one of the things you had to do when you transitioned out of the newspaper gig was find something relationship based. So how did you come to why was healthcare the transition into that?
Well, it was interesting. I didn't transition to that immediately. I wound up
Okay.
working over actually at Vivint for a little while, and which is a fantastic company.
Yeah.
Nothing at all negative I could say about the company. The people involved, they're all really, really some wonderful folks down there. But I learned a lot about myself in that 3 months that I was there, because basically every transaction was just a transaction.
Yeah.
So it was.
Yeah.
I realized that no matter if somebody said no, I'm not interested, or somebody bought everything in the world that they could possibly buy, the call basically ended with, okay, hey, cool, I will never talk to you again. Click.
Right.
That was it. Either you
Yeah.
made money or you didn't, and that was the
Yeah.
entire benefit of the transaction. So I realized that prior to that, of course, in the newspaper, I would see a client every single week, get changes on their ads, and really built those strong relationships. And I realized that I needed that for my soul. So when I went in that morning and said, okay, this is where I'm at, I realized that, okay, great. When I talk to somebody as their insurance agent, this is fantastic because, yep, they're going to buy some insurance if it's right for them. We're going to get them taken care of. But then in 6 months, if they have a question, they can call me. And I can make a new Facebook friend, and I can keep the relationship, and I can be their main point of contact.
Yeah.
And the initial people that were my first clients, I still talk to, at least every few months, just to check in on them, find out how they're doing, whether they're still, quote unquote on the books or not. I still can check in on them. I've built those relationships. So that's been a really invaluable piece of it for me.
Yeah. So just being able to like keep tabs on people and really kind of like follow their whole journey as a customer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's really important. It's especially like I'm a sales guy. But the crazier, the higher ticket you get, right? The more expensive it gets, the more, you really got to invest time into people, right? Figuring out what's going on, investing in the situation, investing in, what they got going on. And so that's great, man. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. It's fun. I get to know just this little piece of a lot of people's lives. So that's a great thing. And then when there are times, unfortunately, you're not in health insurance very long before you have a client that has something go wrong and they actually need to use said health insurance. It's been really a blessing in my life to be able to help walk them through, because I speak insurance. They don't need to learn that language. I can just say, okay, here's your situation. And then I can translate that to the insurance people and translate what the insurance people say back to the client.
So you kind of broker these claims.
Yeah. So I'm not as an agent, I'm not officially a part of that conversation, but I love being the dude in the background that's just helping make the connections and making the transition smooth.
Yeah, dude, because health insurance is wonky, man.
It so totally is. It is. People say I hate health insurance, and it's like, yeah, so do I. That's why I do this for a living.
Right.
Because in a couple of months, everybody's going to be jumping online trying to buy their government healthcare.gov plans, and there's going to be 72 of them or something to choose from. They're going to look through. They're going to say, oh, well, let's just see. Okay, I guess I'll go with that one because the budget works.
Yeah.
And then they go to use it, and they don't know what they bought. They would just realize, okay, I got to buy something.
Yeah.
They didn't want to invest several weeks becoming a health insurance expert, and who would blame them? So I like being their on-call health insurance expert.
Yeah, man, health insurance is a big one. Even if you're not buying it yourself and you're getting it through like an employer, it's still confusing. You got to learn about all the acronyms they got, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? PPO, whatever else they got.
Your HMOs, your EOBs, your
yeah. I'm like, dude, I remember getting hit with a new one, and I'm like, I don't even know what this is, man.
Yeah, I've been doing this for 3 years. It still happens to me. Someone will say, well, what about this? And I'm like, while I Google that, I'm gonna.
Yeah. Seriously though, because there's always some new kind of angle, dude. Like, yeah, that's just so interesting. So take me back again. So you get out of Vivint, and then how did you stumble upon? How did you like? Oh yeah, selling health insurance sounds great.
So at first, I had no idea. It just felt right. So I went into that BNI group in the morning and said, guys, I need help. There were actually 3 offers that I got that morning, which was a huge tribute to the relationships that I'd built. I didn't know. If anybody knows me, if I walk into a room, I will own that room. I'm never intimidated by any kind of a crowd, whether it's, no matter what the scenario is. I'm going to walk in, I'm going to have fun with it. But I'll tell you what, walking into a room of 60, 70 people that you've known for 8 years and just not knowing, do they have a relationship with the newspaper guy? Do they have a relationship with Norm? That was an intimidating morning. That's the one time walking into a crowd that I was intimidated, scared stiff, but I walked in and just said, okay, here's what I need. And 3 people approached me and said, hey, you know what, we'd love to, bring you on. I could have been a mortgage guy. I could
Yeah.
have been a title guy. And thankfully, I was, in my case anyways, I was smart enough to take the job that came without a paycheck.
Right.
And I met with Jeff Christofferson, who was the first actual agent for the company in Utah, and he'd been in that BNI group for almost 3 years. He said, Norm, I think I know you well enough that you would do well in this. Let's sit down. So we sat down, we went over to Costa Vida, had lunch, chatted for a bit. My wife teaches. That just happened to be her early out day. I
Yeah.
called her, I said, honey, I need to come kidnap you, take you out of your meeting, make you skip that, and come down and meet Jeff, because I am going to jump right now, but I've got to get your vibe on this. I've got to make sure that, you are
Yeah.
full on behind this, because I'm going to jump away from this whole great guaranteed $8 an hour, woohoo,
Right.
into something that comes with, a price tag to it. I'm going to have to pay to get licensed. I'm going to have to pay to go through the schooling. It's
Yeah.
back to running my own gig again. And she came down. What was going to be a 20-minute conversation was a couple hours. And she looked at me and said, you have to do this. This is where you belong.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what's crazy about it? So that was a Vivint. That was the $8 an hour Vivint job.
Yeah.
So, I
Yes.
mean, but you were a salesman there, so there was a little bit of commission there.
Yeah, there was commission there. It was I didn't go hungry there at all. It
Yeah.
was, income wise, it was good. And there's people there that are fantastic at it,
Yeah. Yeah.
because that's
Vivint
the way they
crushes it. Yeah.
work. They can live with that. Okay, great, perfect. You know what? I got this person taken care of. Boom, done. Move on. Never think about that person again. But
Sure.
after 25 years of taking care of the same clients over and over and over, I'm just a full-on relationship guy. I want to talk to somebody now. I want to have the transaction, of course, because it's sales. But then I also want to call them back in 2 weeks and say, hey, how's it going? Everything working great? If you bought an alarm system from me 6 months ago, you're thinking,
Yeah.
why are you calling me?
Yeah. Sure. Sure. Yeah. Sure.
But on the other
Sure.
hand, if I'm your health insurance guy and I'm calling you, hey, how's it going? If you needed to use it, do you have any questions? That makes total sense for an insurance agent.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure year after year, they keep coming back, right? And that's the kind of the part that we like about those like insurance sales, like because you can sell it more than once.
Oh yeah, you've got that residual. You've got that client that's going to be
Yeah.
with you for the next decade, and
Yeah.
you're
As
still
long
going
as
to
you
be
treat them
making
right.
money on that, and they're going to be, still sending me referrals because I did my job. It's not like it's that hard
Yeah.
a thing. I did my job, but in reality, all I'm doing is taking care of them.
Yeah. No, and that's part of your job as like as a sales guy, right? Like as salespeople, like that's our job is to like take care of people, answer their
Mm-hmm.
questions. One of my favorite quotes from I think it's in Jeffrey Gitmer's The Little Red Book of Selling is everybody hates to be sold, or excuse me, everybody loves to buy,
Loves to buy,
but
but hates to be
but no
sold.
but no one wants to be sold. You know what I'm saying? So no, that's it, right? And so you just got to make people feel like they're
Mm-hmm.
buying and not being sold. That's the crazy
Oh yeah.
part, dude. You know what I mean? You gotta be it's gotta be their idea. You gotta make them
Mm-hmm.
think it's their idea.
Well, and the fun thing with this gig, it's like 90% of the people I talk to in a given day are
Yeah.
not going to be my customers. Just
Sure.
flat out, what I sell is going to be, it's going to be a niche product. It caters to the people that are that are earning too much income to be subsidized. So they're not getting the tax
Yeah.
credits from the government. The people that are getting tax credits, I'm going to go through my little qualifying process, and I'm going to say, oh, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
It looks like you could buy something from the government for $52 a month. I'd love to sell you this $800 a month health insurance plan, but I'm not going to do it. Let me hook you up with a partner that does that into the business.
Yeah,
They're going to
yeah.
take care of you. So when it comes down to what I do, and I say, okay, here's your options through the government. Perfect. You're going to be better there. But then when I look at, say, my household of 5, and I'm like, okay, if you're paying full price for this, it's $2,300,
Yeah.
or I could cut that bill in half and get you better coverage. What are you going to go with?
Yeah. Well, at that point, yeah, it's a no-brainer. So what's like the biggest thing you've learned since being in the health insurance industry?
Wow, that's a loaded question. there's there's so many things. I think the biggest thing that I've learned would be a lot more about myself than about insurance. Is
Okay.
just that I'm happier if I'm taking care of people. I'm happier if all I'm doing. I like to say I don't really work for a living. I just goof off with my friends all day. I make
Yeah.
a lot of new friends. Some of those friends need health insurance. Some of those friends need health insurance from me. But if I can keep busy and I can keep myself just talking to someone and helping them out with their situation, whether they're going to be my customer
Yeah.
or not, they're my client. So if I can just help somebody out, then that just keeps me positive and keeps me happy. I mean, I branded myself as the happy health insurance guy, so I better do something to keep that going.
Right. Yeah, for sure, man. So let me ask you this, because that's kind of a big jump, right? You go from, owning an ad agency, an ad newspaper agency, right?
Mhm.
To Vivint, and then so you have stable income, you have stable income again, but then you take the leap to nothing, right?
Mhm.
And I'm assuming this is later in your career when you're a little more established in your personal life. How does
Mhm.
that? How was that? I mean, I know you brought your wife in and everything. How was that? How was that transition though? That's a big one. Sometimes when you're 18, when you're 20, when you're 25,
Mhm.
you can take that. But when you're older, you got kids and stuff, you got a mortgage, like, that's scary. What happened?
For me, it had its ups and downs. So
Yeah.
there was absolutely the little chunk of terror of, well, okay, yeah, there's nothing. I might not get paid on
Yeah.
Monday. That's just the way it is. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. What was scarier for me was the thought of having a job again.
Really?
Just the thought
What do
of,
you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
so, a great example when I was with Vivint, the rigidity of punch the clock here, punch the clock there.
Sure.
And the one afternoon when I got a text message from my daughter, I'm looking at it, and yeah, it's my phone case. But
Yeah.
I got a text from my daughter. She wasn't feeling good. She thought she was going to throw up. So, okay, I'm just Joe Blow business guy. I'm going to go get in my car and go pick her up. And then I realized, oh wait, I've got to email 24-year-old Skippy and say, can I have permission to go pick up my daughter at school because I'm like, dude, this is like third grade. and
Yeah.
and so it was scary, and it was full on tough
Yeah.
financially for a bit. I
Yeah.
mean, I was definitely running scared. I was, we 3 months before we went out of business, I bought my dream house,
Oh, wow.
and man, I was so scared we were going to lose this place. Just the
Yeah.
the fear factor there, and having to live super tight and
Yeah.
not knowing. And we made it through. We made it. The first year, I was still trying to figure out what in the world I was doing for a living. While luckily, insurance is set up so that you can make a living while you're trying to figure out how to make a living.
Yeah,
So,
because if you get your first couple sales, then that keeps
mhm,
going. Okay.
yep. So at least I wasn't quite starving to death. What was the hardest was the fact that I was using my wife's money for everything. And a
Oh,
lot of
yeah.
couples, I don't know how they do that, where all the paychecks just go into one bank account, and okay, great, and here's your family budget.
Yeah.
I'd always been able to, or at least usually over the course of 25 years running a business, been able to say, hey, you know what? My wife goes out and makes some money. She can do whatever she wants to with it. She can party. I'm paying the bills. Maybe it's a macho thing, masculine. There's my toxic masculinity. I have to pay the bills.
Sure.
but
Sure. No.
but being able to pay all the bills, and if she teaches, so to be able to,
Yeah.
for her to take her money and say, hey, you know what, I want to go take the family to Disneyland. Hey, that's cool. But for me to say, hey babe, yeah, I know you got paid today, I kind of need all your money for the mortgage payment. That's the toughest thing I've ever had to do.
Wow.
Be
Really?
able to say, okay, yeah, that great insurance gig I got into. Yeah, I need to steal all your money again. Sorry, babe. There it is. I need you to cover the mortgage for us. That was tough.
Yeah, it's tough, man.
And getting to the point, crossing that threshold again where it's like, okay, super, and Disney is our thing. So, the fact that my wife has paid for a few Disney trips, where I love that because I didn't pay for the Disney trip. That's great. That's awesome on my end. But the
Sure.
fact that she's able to do that and she's able to have fun with the income that she brings, that means the world to me. So that piece of the transition that was the hardest thing of the transition, was when I wasn't making money and having to say, hon, I need all of your money. Oh yeah, by the way, we still can't afford ramen.
Right.
Don't know what to do,
Yeah.
and there was a time going into that where, we were getting food from the Bishop Storehouse. For those of you that are not members of the same faith, the church has a little food bank where you can go get some food for free to help you eat and survive. And then we got out of that point, and then we got onto the point where, okay, great, now, there's revenue coming in, and I don't have to do that, and I can help people out instead of being the guy that's being helped out. And that's a lot of different.
So what changed? So what helped you get from point A to point B to hit these milestones?
The biggest thing was about a year into the business, and I was just struggling. We have open enrollment. November to December is typically the biggest months in insurance.
Yeah.
And everyone around me is making money, and I'm not. And I took to Steve Concrete, who's our regional director, who's become a really good friend. And I said, Steve, I need some help. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And he said, you know what? Here's some Simon Sinek. Find Your Why.
Yeah, man, I love that book.
And he walked me through that process and just said, figure this out. Figure out why you're doing this or why you're doing anything. And talked with Jeff Christopherson, the guy that brought me into it. And he said, okay, well, you know what? Have you ever been successful in your life at all? I was like, well, yeah. Says, okay, well, what are you doing now that you weren't doing then? Well, I'm trying to call, 200 people a day. And he's like, okay, when you were successful, were you sitting at a desk trying to call 200 people a day? No. He says, what were you doing then? Well, I was networking. I was talking, to walking into businesses, saying hello, introducing myself. He says, well, why aren't you doing that now?
Sure. Yeah.
So I doubled down on getting involved in networking. And about a month into that, as it's starting to working, bam, COVID shuts everything down.
Wow.
So while I still had my same why, and I looked at networking and everything's going virtual, and I'm like, oh, that's just going to stink. That's going to be, I was really sarcastic about it. I'm like, yeah, virtual networking, staring at a screen all day, that's going to be effective. And then it was.
Right. Yeah. COVID made a lot of people have to pick up new things, you know what I mean? And learn new things and try new things. And, you had to really figure out what your game plan was, because I was in outside sales. That was not going to be possible for however, at the time, however long that was not going to be possible for. But I was grateful that I'm a phone guy. I'm an email guy. I love cold calling. I love emailing. But I'm also good at that, right? I sold, one of my favorite jobs was selling big industrial metal machines in my home state of Iowa.
Nice.
Because that was great. You just walk in there and you're like, yeah, man, let's go. But yeah, in 2020 you had to, and even now, some people are just so used to it, just, so you got to kind of find the right groove. Thankful for networking groups though, man. They're a game changer.
It was so fun because and here's my my mouse, but I can drive to Logan from Provo by going, okay, I got to go to Logan now. Click. Hey guys, how are you? I'm in Logan. I just drove 2 hours by clicking a button. And I could go to 6 networking groups in a week. And that just was magic for my soul, because I built these relationships with people that I would never have a chance to meet if we were just doing in-person networking, because I can't be in, Provo at 9 in the morning and Logan at 11. And then, there's just no way to physically be in that many places. And I could do that with virtual. And because of that, honestly, that helped me develop my why a lot more into my why is full on my family, but it's also the relationships that I build. And being able to see the situations that everyone's going through, just to be a part of their process, even if that means, I'm going to spend a half an hour and, I realize in 5 minutes you're not my customer. Right. Okay, cool. That doesn't mean you're not my client. I'm still going to take care of you. I'm still going to say, okay, this is going to probably be your best situation. Let me say up with this other guy that's going to, I always introduce him as my partner. We're not business partners. We just help each other. We send each other referrals. Like, hey, my partner over here is going to be the guy that helps you. Let me make the connection. There you go. You're taken care of.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well,
that just helped me a lot.
Yeah, dude, that's incredible. Well, yeah, man, and what a cool story, because it's hard for, especially I love those stories of like coming from some stability and coming from like your own thing, realizing it's not going to work for someone else. So you go back to, working for yourself and taking all those risks. Like there's a lot of cool things that go with that. You know what I mean? There's a lot of cool things. So I appreciate you telling your story. I appreciate you coming on. You've been like really generous with your time, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful. So, but will you tell people how to find you, where they can get all your stuff?
Oh, absolutely. So I'm the Happy Health Insurance Guy.
Yeah.
You can find me online, thehappyhealthinsuranceguy.com. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I actually just started a TikTok. There's nothing there yet. But, if you look at the Happy Health Insurance Guy, there'll be some blank channel. I have like four videos on YouTube, so I'm getting there.
Yeah,
anywhere you Google the Happy Health Insurance Guy, or just call me 801-687-9191. It's been my number for like 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Luckily, I kept that from the newspaper, transitioned it over. Everybody knows 9191. But anywhere you look for the Happy Health Insurance Guy, you're gonna find me.
Yeah. Well, don't sleep on TikTok, man.
I know I've got to get on that.
It's surprised. Here's what I was surprised about when I really learned at TikTok. We think that TikTok is like the Gen, what is that? Z?
Gen right? something or other.
Gen Z, millennials, things like that. But actually, the majority of the people on TikTok are like my parents' generation. That's like 60%.
That's interesting.
Yeah, wow. I was like floored. I was like, dude, there's no way. But like that 25, and that's not my parents, but like 75% of TikTok is like 25 to like that 45. Like that's the majority of them. And I was like,
interesting.
Yeah. That's why you see all the ads for like, you ever hop on there and there's a bunch of ads for like stuff that people, you know what I mean? Because if you're going to advertise on TikTok, you need somebody who's got discretionary income.
Yeah.
17, 18, 20, 21-year-olds, whoever's on there, they don't have like, if they wanted something, they don't have that kind of money. You know what I mean?
They're still like, trying to pay the rent for their portion of the apartment,
Yeah, that's what, you know what I mean? So don't sleep on that, man. Get going on that.
I definitely will.
All right. Well, cool, man. Well, I appreciate it, Norm, and I appreciate everything that you're doing. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks, Dalton.